Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuff and things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants. So, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Injection today. Per Mike Elias, Westburg will be out for all of April. Timeline TBD after that.
Well, if you think back to Aaron Judge's injury last year, I don't remember the extent of the arm injury, but that was a whole half a season. Playing in the outfield, trying to lob balls. You can't play with this in the infield. You got too many throws to make. So I don't see him getting back very soon. Hopefully he gets back healthy and he's back to play this year.
Yeah.
But that's not good news.
So the partial tear, and as you said, is he's going to forego surgery for right now.
Yeah.
And going to go with the PRP injection. So we wish good health for Jordan.
Well, they got some adjustments to make. I mean,
yeah, suddenly that infield depth is being put to the test because obviously you've got the Jackson Holiday still recovering from the hamate bone.
I said when Jackson Holiday went down, I had no idea what was going to happen with Westburg. I thought they should have made a trade then. And you moved Kobe Mayo over to third base. That was to cover that move. And now they're depleted. So they're going to have to sign somebody, whether it's a free agent, make a trade, whatever. They got to cover themselves here.
Well, they are. The old adage is the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. We watched carefully this winter as Mike Elias established this team, made a lot of moves to get the team ready for 2026, the improvements that on paper all made sense. And in 1 week, Griffin Bass, it's gone astray with the news that Jordan Westburg is likely to miss multiple months of the season at least.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. Partial UCL tear. He's going to get a PRP injection, as obviously they just said. I mean, yeah, they're still being pretty vague, I guess. But is there any way to look at this as good news? Like, it's not a full tear of the UCL, but it does seem like he's not probably going to be able to play much infield this year.
You know, it's interesting because Holiday is a second baseman at this point in his career. And Jordan has been relegated to be the third baseman. But you have to wonder if he's to play at all this year. Those throws from third base, the thing about third base is you have more time than you do on ground balls up the middle to short or second. But the arm strength is important because you got a longer throw, from third base. Well, actually, shortstop's the longest throw.
Right.
But third base...
You can almost entirely rule out third base for Westburg, at least in 2026.
That seems likely to me. So what are you looking at then? Does he become more of a DH possibility?
I saw Ben Hall made the correlation to Bryce Harper, who played in 2022, so almost 4 years ago now,
right?
With the partial UCL. Obviously, he was playing just first base though,
right?
And he played most of the season, or he DH'd most of the season, I think. And
I'm not remembering how they handled it.
I think it was an outfield. I think he was transitioning to first base, so he was still an outfielder at that point.
Yeah, and they said he was lobbing the balls in and all that.
Yeah,
so third base is not a position you can have a lobber.
No,
so
no, you cannot.
This is bad news. And you'd have to say now, and this is sad to say at his age, that he is morphed into the offensive version of Grayson Rodriguez. In other words, we have an expression between Luke and I, it's always something. And Jordan now has, I think, unfortunately, kind of gotten into that room where it seems like it's always something right now. And, of course, going with the injury to Jackson Holiday, the Orioles are depleted. But fortunately for the Orioles, they made that trade, and I don't see any way that Mike Elias knew about it one day, made the trade, and then the news came out. I think it was just fortuitous that they acquired a player like Blaze Alexander, who is major league ready to be a guy who can cover for you for 3 weeks to a month, I think.
Yeah, and Mike Elias was on 105.7 last night, and he talked a lot about Blaze Alexander and how excited he was about him, just getting a guy with that much control, and looks like we'll be seeing a lot more of him here this season at probably third base, maybe second. I mean, he can play every position.
Well, he'll play the majority of second base while Holiday is out, and I'm thinking Holiday could be ready anywhere from April 15th to May 1st, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
Third base, the Orioles.
Do you want to let people know what they're watching today, Stan?
Why?
Okay.
They know it's Stan the Fan and Griffin Bass.
They know it's Stan Charles Radio
on the all new revamped Friday edition of the Glenn Clark Show. I'm Stan the Fan Charles. Griffin Bass is making sure everything runs smoothly. And we are brought to you by some really nice sponsors.
Yeah, today we're going to be brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. It's the best place to watch every big event inside sports and social. Lots of great stuff.
You mean
this
like
weekend.
Olympics?
College hoops. Yeah, Olympics.
Olympics. Like they could go there now and go to the bar and watch
at Sport and Social. Absolutely, stand there.
Finland.
40-foot wall to watch the biggest games. And we got Canada Finland going on right now. The U.S. will be taking on Slovakia later today. Gold medal match will be on Sunday, and then there's some big college hoops, of course, all weekend. Michigan and Duke will be down in D.C. Saturday night. So yeah, that's the best place to be. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Sports and Social.
That should be some game. The Michigan Duke.
It definitely. It feels like it should. Those definitely
What's it,
seem
1 versus 3.
Yes, 1 versus 3.
Who's 2 right now? Arizona.
Zona dropped the 4.
Connecticut. UConn's 2, right?
I think so. UConn just lost to Creighton. They might be 5.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's falling though, except for Michigan. Everyone's tripping up except for Michigan right now.
Michigan is doing very, very, very well. Michigan doing very well. Unlike the Orioles, who have lost 2.
Houston is 2, by the way. Yeah.
What's that?
Houston
is 2.
Yeah.
And but Houston just lost the other night to.
They lost to Texas Tech, I think.
Texas
Tech. Of course, Texas Tech does not have JT Toppin now moving forward.
Right.
To
and
ACL,
Carolina lost Wilson.
Yep. He may come back. I can't remember what his injury was.
Nebraska's hit a little bump in the road. They've lost a couple
lost
games.
a few games now. But yeah, Houston plays Arizona Saturday as well too. So.
But anyway, the Orioles start Grapefruit League action, right?
That is correct.
Today?
Yeah.
How come they call it it's Grapefruit League? Isn't the fruit of Florida orange? Isn't that the...
Well, it doesn't roll off the tongue, I guess, quite as...
Yeah, the orange.
What's the
Orange League.
What's the Arizona Cactus? Is that what it's...
Cactus League.
Cactus League.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Okay.
You want to try to rename? You want to try to rename the spring training league?
I would think that oranges are more prominent.
But they've called it grapefruit for so long, so...
Yeah, but why?
People may get confused.
But why? Because orange...
You want me to find out why?
Yeah. Find out why.
We're 10 minutes into the show, and not even, and this is the...
Let me let folks know what we've got here on the show today. We've got from BaltimoreBaseball.com, Peter Schmuck joins us. Columnist Peter Schmuck will join us in about 10 minutes. And then at 11:40 from the Baltimore Banner, BaltimoreBanner.com, we'll have Childs Walker with us. Okay? And then a little bit later on in the show, I did a Zoom yesterday with the upper-level minor league coordinator of instruction, Mike Schild, the former manager of the San Diego Padres and the St. Louis Cardinals. And he joined me, couldn't have been nicer. Did about 20 minutes with Mike, and could have probably gone on longer. I chose not to, take advantage of how nice he was.
Maybe you should have. I don't know.
So we have a little clip of that, about a 3 to 4 minute clip of that we'll play about his relationship with Cal Ripken, which is very interesting.
Who is that?
Cal Ripken is, I don't know much about him.
Okay.
Cal Ripken Jr., that is.
Gotcha.
But I know he owns a piece of the ball club.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what he did to make his money.
That would be a good stuff to learn.
Yeah, I don't know what he did to make his money. The last third. Maybe he married wealthy.
Right.
His second time, his wife.
But he has been married twice.
Yeah. Yes, he.
Did you know that?
Yes, he has.
Grapefruit League. So apparently in 1915.
Yeah.
Aviator Ruth Law dropped a grapefruit rather than a baseball from her plane, and it's apparently hit Brooklyn Dodgers manager Wilbert Robinson right on the head
and killed him.
No. Showered him with pulp, and so they decided to call the league, the Grapefruit League because of that.
That's a kind of a negative connotation.
How's that negative?
Oranges are much. Look at me. The Orioles are orange. So. Anyway, that's what we've got on the show today. Ravens
apparently there's a lot of grapefruits in Florida as well. So
there are a lot of grapefruits.
Not just oranges.
There's a lot of a new lizard family that's in. I was reading about this.
See, this is why I don't go. Yeah.
This is what they're pretty frightening. They're like sort of the size of a small alligator.
Are you kidding me? So dinosaurs are back?
No, this is lizard, like a lizard, like. Let me see if I can find that.
Oh gosh,
because they got a very unusual.
We'll dive into it later.
You got a very unusual name to this lizard, and it's an interesting thing. Have you ever thought about that, Griffin? About how they name things?
No.
Like why that's not just
why is it called a grapefruit?
The new lizard. It's got like a
Liz.
Nike lizard.
Well, everything's got to have their Latin name, right? Like,
I don't know.
Just to make sure that nothing like overlaps.
Is that something?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about, or do you want to listen to Mike Elias first to break down the Orioles rotation?
Yeah, Mike was on with Cordell Woodland last night and Ben Hall on 105.7 The Fan, and he was talking a little bit about the pitching.
Correct.
All right, let's hear from Mike Elias, or his general manager.
Well, we're really liking the look of the rotation right now as we start spring. We've got Kyle Bradish coming back, had a nice rehab and finished strong at the end of the year. We expect we'll have him for a full season, and he's a difference maker for us. Trevor Rogers had the breakout last year. He's starting the game tomorrow against the Yankees, our first spring game, and he's looked really sharp in camp. We made the huge trade for Shane Baz, who has tremendous upside, up to 100 miles an hour with plus stuff. And we think there's a really good chance he's kind of ready for a breakout now after a full season removed from Tommy John. We've got Dean Kramer, who's been a workhorse. Zach Eflin's looking really good coming back from back surgery. He wasn't healthy last year. We got really good depth with Cade Povich and Brandon Young and these guys that are in competing for spots too. And as we looked at all this talent, we really wanted to bring in somebody with some more experience, some more playoff experience, and another guy that had thrown a lot of innings last year. And Chris Bassett's done all of those things. He's super accomplished. He's a pro. He's in the World Series last year. He's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of pitchability. And you look at his last 4 or 5 seasons, just remarkably consistent, healthy workhorse. So we think it's a really strong rotation. I think it's going to be one of the strengths of the team if we can keep this group fairly healthy. And, Bassett was a big punctuation mark for us as we built this rotation over the winter.
All true. And the rotation looks to be on a lot firmer ground than last year, where they kind of knew going into the season that Grayson was suspect, but they hadn't really calculated that he was going to never throw one pitch last year. And you factor in, they knew that Kyle Bradish wouldn't be back for at least half the season, and he came back in August. but they didn't count on Zach Eflin immediately going down with an injury.
Right, or pitching as poorly as he did.
And pitching as poorly as he did, or Charlie Morton pitching for the first time in his career. Well, the first time in 12, 14 years, pitched that poorly for an extended period of time. So they were back on their heels. Cade Povich did not take a step forward at all. He took, in fact, 2 steps backward. So the rotation last year was really inferior. Already missing Corbin Burns from 24. They knew they wouldn't have Corbin Burns. They didn't have Grayson Rodriguez. They had very little from Eflin, very little from Morton. So Dean Kramer started poorly, got his skis under him, so to speak, mid-May or so. But by then, the season was all but lost. So the rotation is a strength. Griffin, the most interesting aspect of this, and it's not an adage like the best laid plans of mice and men, but in baseball, you often talk about how are they going to fit this guy in, and all winter long I've gone, how are they going to find playing time for Kobe Mayo, Ryan Mountcastle, Basayo, and Tyler O'Neill? There's like a lot of duplication there of DH, no position really, with Alonso planning to play 155 to 160 games, knock on wood. But the most interesting thing about this is how this is working out now, that Kobe Mayo is going to get a fresh look as the Orioles' everyday third baseman. Initially, I think he's going to play a lot of third base down there. And the key to him is if he can stay focused on his hitting and take a couple big steps forward, which he took already in that last 4 to 6 weeks of the season last year, where he all of a sudden he looked like a major league player of some promise. If he can start off this minor league the spring training season and go right into the regular season and be productive, he doesn't have to be a superstar, but if he can be productive, I think that's the most interesting aspect of the Westburg injury now, is what it's going to do to one Kobe Mayo. So we'll see how that plays out. No other big news down at camp yet. The Orioles will play the Yankees today. That game is on Masson at 1:05 this afternoon. And I'm not sure, is the game in Tampa or at George Steinbrenner Field, or
I'm not sure. I'll try to get an answer on that. But, to your point, it's going to be fun to see Kobe Mayo. Like, we talked to Jacob Calvin-Meyer yesterday. This is a massive opportunity for
Kobe Mayo.
Yeah,
and there's no question about it. Because he had to come to camp. Now, I know Kobe well enough. I don't really know him well, but I know he's a sort of high-strung guy, and I think that Kobe Mayo came to camp. He had to come in a little bit PO'd, that there was no real position ready for him, and that here we go again. This is going to be sort of more of the same, where I don't get to play, I don't get to get my feet on the ground, but that's all changed now with this injury to Jordan Westburg. Do we have our guest on the line?
We'll get him in a second, and we're eager to hear his thoughts on Westburg and how the rest of this infield.
Peter Schmuck is going to join us momentarily from BaltimoreBaseball.com. Reminder that Childs Walker will join us at 11:40, and we will also play a clip of an interview I did yesterday with the new coordinator of upper-level minor league instruction, Mike Schild, former Major League manager, but now Peter Schmuck of BaltimoreBaseball.com joins Griffin, Bass, and I to talk a little Orioles baseball. Peter, how are you, my friend?
Oh, doing pretty good, Stan. Not a good day for the Orioles, though.
Nope. Peter, quickly on Westburg, Has he now become kind of the offensive version of, sadly, what Grayson Rodriguez turned into, where it's always something?
I think it's a little bit early to say that. I mean, obviously, this is four pretty significant injuries over the past year.
Yeah.
And you have more options with a player than a pitcher as far as arm injuries and the other injuries that Westburg has been dealing with over the past year. But it's not good, obviously.
Yeah.
My take on it is, one, I think the Orioles are now glad they didn't package Mayo to get a reliever, even though the coaching staff gave up on him last year at third base. Now they can't. Now he's got to be in a extremely what would you say?
Important. He's an extremely important position.
No, I'm saying right now he's going to be in an extremely supercharged attempt to get him up to speed as a major league third baseman, and they felt he wasn't capable of doing that after looking at him last year, and I think that probably was short-sighted anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I didn't love him at third, but I thought that he was a work in progress. And if the offense that you anticipated you could get from him was there, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. So this is as you mentioned, this is a ramp up to get him ready to play. And I think this is the most interesting thing. Peter, you wrote a column a couple weeks ago about the fact that it wasn't the worst thing in the world to go into spring training with Mayo and Mountcastle for this very reason.
Yep, absolutely. And I would agree. I would say the same thing as it relates to Mountcastle, though the Orioles, would have enough depth at first base, obviously, if there was an injury at first base. And God forbid there's an injury at first base now that they have a $155 million player there. But but I still, a lot of people down on Mountcastle, when I talked to, I ran into, God, I don't know, Minecraft. It's a former local scout for the Orioles, our buddy. Why am I driving?
Yeah, I know. The guy who owns a house with Keith Mills.
Yeah. We're a couple of old guys, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I ran into him a while back.
Yes.
And he said, I'm telling you, don't go to sleep on Ryan Mountcastle. He's a real talent. Hasn't gone well.
Right.
Someone's going to really love having him later if the Orioles give up on him.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna take his word for it, even though I can't, even though I'm having a senior moment here with his name. Yeah, and again, this team has enough offense if their pitching's okay. So I mean, it's terrible. I just think it's terrible for Westburg because he's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a terrific talent.
Yep.
And you certainly hate to see something like that happen to a guy like that. I think there were some people that got tired of Grayson Rodriguez on a lot of levels last year.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he, and I think there's a very good chance Grayson Rodriguez gets better and ends up being a great pitcher. He's a very talented guy.
No question about it.
I think it was.
No question
it was okay with me that they didn't. That I mean, a lot of people thought it was crazy to give up on him because they've been through all this stuff with him. But at the same time, they had hoped that not to start this year with a bunch of people like that.
Yeah.
And it's turned out that they're going to anyway. With Jackson Holiday and Westburg now, and you're still waiting to be sure that Eflin will be ready to go, and and every team's got some of that. But the last 2 years in spring was awful, and hopefully this won't be awful. They now know what's going on with Westburg. The awful thing is that there's still a chance that Westburg has some kind of Tommy John type surgery.
Oh, yeah, no question about
that he doesn't get better.
Yeah, I would say this is a 65-70% chance eventually this is operational, in nature.
Right.
We'll see.
No, I think go ahead.
Pete, the acquisition the day before the hamate bone of Jackson Holiday, that hamate bone injury of Blaze Alexander, suddenly becomes a very sort of prescient deal by Mike Elias, and one that may end up being very, very important to this ball club.
Yeah. I mean, he knew he needed some infield help, and they may have known a week ago that he had a torn elbow ligament. I don't know. They announced it today, but
right.
They obviously, and I wrote a column for BaltimoreBaseball.com, which will probably be up later, where I took the quotes related to Westburg and for the last week, and they subtly got worse each time.
Yeah.
Subtly.
Yep.
He's going to be ready for opening day, and and then Albernaz says, we've got trying to convince all our guys, Westy is one of them,
right.
that opening day is the key. And then the last one, he said, we're really hopeful we can get him to a point where he can play this year.
Right.
Oh,
right.
And I was writing a column about that when they announced. I was writing a column about that when they announced that he had the elbow thing, and I was going to speculate that this elbow was it's just. I'm going like, well, they wouldn't do that. They know what an oblique is. It's going to take time, but they know what it is.
Yeah.
And why are they saying this? I'm thinking he has a sore elbow.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I literally this, and then I went to look something up from on the internet, and this thing comes up that they announced he had a partial tear.
Yep.
And you can get through without surgery. I mean, Greg Olson did it, but it ruined a big chunk of his career before he came back to have a couple of good years at the end. He decided not to have Tommy John back in whatever year that was, 93 or so.
Yeah.
And he was not the same and then he ended up, I think, in Arizona maybe, and he had a couple of 30 save seasons.
Under Buck, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A couple of 30, I think one or two 30 save seasons. So he did come back from it, but I asked him once if he regretted not just going ahead and having a Tommy John surgery, and he just sort of like, like that.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, that was
so
great.
yeah. I mean, it'll be sad if Westburg has to go through that, but if he does, don't wait till June to do it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. The thing
maybe he can be back next year.
The thing with this is, even if he were able to get by without surgery, and that's not a position that you can lollipop the ball from third to first. You're going to be challenged 5-6 times a game to make a serious throw, and so that then you're confronted with what position can he play, and then it just seems like the whole infield gets thrown off by that. Even the attempt.
Well, they were already facing the likelihood that he was going to play second base.
Right.
Instead of third, because they had other that they could use. They were already getting Mayo ready to play some third base.
Right.
But it's an interesting situation, and that might turn him into a first baseman.
Yeah.
So that's a question, but because they obviously don't need a fifth first baseman.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Pete, I know you're not going to be able to get down to camp this year, but what are some of the things you're watching with this club, aside from these most recent injuries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know that spring training can tell us a lot about certain things that have to happen, one of which is that Colton Cowser has to not be last year's Colton Cowser at the plate.
Yeah.
Now, I know he had injuries, but they need him not to be a 200 strikeout guy if he plays full time.
Yeah.
They need that not to happen. And I don't know where that's going. And I think the kid should be smart enough that he will accept coaching. We're not going to see a lot of Gunner except on TV. So, hopefully we'll get some of those games on MLB Network and we'll get to see Gunner play in the WBC. But, the whole issue of spring training for the Orioles the last 2 years is staying healthy. And you still have guys that have injury histories that haven't been injured yet. And, you had Tyler O'Neill do an interview yesterday saying he was disappointed in last year and he wants to not be that guy.
Yeah.
And we don't want him to be that guy either. He's not a bad guy.
He certainly already doesn't look like that guy anymore. He's still stronger than you or I. He probably could wrestle the two of us and Griffin Bass at the same time.
Sometimes maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's still.
By the way, anybody can wrestle Griffin Bass. Come on.
I know. But seriously, he's still very strong looking. But boy, that musculature in the neck has been brought back to like a human, like a real human being looking guy. You know. The most important guy to me, aside from these two injuries, obviously were pretty significant, are what kind of Adley Rutschman are the Orioles going to get in 2026, Peter?
I think he'll be better. I don't think he could be worse. And I, guys don't just lose their talent unless they're Chris Davis and they get $162 million and don't need it anymore.
Right.
And that's a mean thing to say because I don't know what went on with Chris. I mean, it was sad what happened to him. Aside from the $162 million, he's still getting paid. But Adley, still registered as one of the best catchers in the league. And if he's one of the best catchers in the league, you still want him. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll be a better hitter than he was because I think something just went wrong on all levels for him. I think he paid a price emotionally or physically and mentally, and did not adapt well to the problems that he ran into. And hopefully, particularly having the firepower behind him that he has now at the plate, I think I think people thought he was going to be a 40 home run catcher, right. A Johnny Bench type player. That's a lot to ask when you play catcher on a regular basis. Johnny Bench was a unicorn. I mean, he was a fabulous power hitter and played all the time, and it's just you don't see that very often. But I think he will be. Let's put it this way: I'm fairly confident that he will be a contributor this year. I'm not going to predict he's going to be a superstar this year, but I think he'll play okay.
Okay. It's been, the thing with him was he had been terrific for like his first 2.5 years, and this is already a year and a half. He went sour in June, like around June 20th of 24. He was hitting like 285, 290, and from that point on, he hit about 160 in 24, and then last year, of course, was a total miss, and we don't know whether it was totally the physical injuries he was playing under or what, but it was just not, it didn't rival the same player that we had seen the first 2.5 years.
And by the way you described it, guys don't forget how to hit.
Yeah.
And teams make adjustments to everybody. And it wouldn't, if there was an adjustment to be made that would destroy Adley Rutschman's ability to be an elite hitter, it wouldn't have taken half the 2024 season for like advanced scouts and people to figure it out, analytics people.
Yeah.
So if you put that date and say this guy turned right then, well, I guess it's possible one person figured something out. A couple pitchers started to do something. Everybody else saw it on tape and just started to do it. I guess that's possible, but that's, good players are good players. And so I think there's way more to this. I think there's a lot about it we just won't ever know. I just think he had a rough time last year, and he had, his own life issues, whatever.
Demons. Demons, we'll call them.
Oh, I don't like demons. No, I'm not talking about like chemical issues. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff.
Well, I just meant.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
What he went through. Yeah, what he went through. He couldn't get out of. And yes, it's a mental process. And I think one of the things he has to do is remember what makes him a good player, and remember that being a great catcher is enough, and relax when he gets to the plate.
Griffin.
I mean, that's amateur psychology, but he doesn't have to think when he's playing catcher.
Griffin's got one.
He just goes. What?
Griffin's got a quick question for you, and then I got one more for you. Go ahead,
Peter.
Griff.
I'm curious how you feel about the rotation coming in. Certainly, the ceiling can be pretty high. We'll see how far these guys reach. The floor is definitely higher than they were entering the season a year ago. But how should we feel about this rotation going in, considering we thought that they were in on the Framber Valdez and Ranger Suarez stakes, and they don't get either one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not good. I mean, that they didn't get either one. And I, like everybody, thought they were going to get Valdez because he got to the end of the process and they had enough money. I'd still like to know. I suspect that they offered as much as Detroit. I just don't think. I think Valdez didn't want to come to the American League East. That's just my own personal opinion. But I agree with you on it that obviously the floor is higher. I don't think the ceiling is off the charts. I think this rotation, obviously, all you have to do is look at it to see that it's a collection of middle rotation guys and a couple guys that could be aces if they become what they're supposed to become. And we hope that happens. So that if Bradish and Trevor Rogers pitch like they did at the end of last year, and Trevor Rogers for a full half season at the end of last year, then they got a good rotation because those other guys are solid. They have several solid guys. I mean, Kramer's solid, and obviously Bassett is solid. And Eflin is a very good pitcher if he's healthy, and so far he is. But that's, as Stan was pointing out earlier. I mean, we got 4 weeks of spring training left, and this team has a history of having stuff happen over those 4 weeks. It's a recent history. So if all those guys are healthy on opening day, that's an above average rotation.
Pete,
and if they're a good hitting team, that's enough.
Pete, my last question has nothing to do with the Orioles. It has to do with Major League Baseball and this story that broke a couple days ago about Tony Clark stepping down. I think I'm a fairly intelligent person, but when I read that and it said he's had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, and then it mentioned who was just hired by the MLPA or something. Is this a romantic relationship? I read it to be that they were together in cahoots stealing money from the Players Association.
I read it too. I didn't read it that way.
You took it as a romantic relationship.
I mean, it was presented. I mean, that was the top of it. That was the top of the paragraph,
Okay.
And I mean, listen, if that's what's happening, we're going to know eventually.
Yeah.
This isn't just him resigning, and so to get away from this, there was already an investigation, and this news undoubtedly, took that up to another level.
Okay.
That they're going to, and then the giant story about the players, that charity.
Yeah.
That was put together, a fantastic story by Jeff Passan, and I can't remember the other guy, the investigative reporter's name. Just a fantastic investigative report on that, and that's, a lot of it probably skirts illegality, but they said there's so little accountability for these millions and millions of dollars that it just. That no one, they're gonna look for all this,
Yeah,
and the new people running the.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. I think.
It would seem, yes.
Yeah. All right.
But you know what? You can't do that all by yourself. So there could be that's why I said, I wrote my column the other day saying that this makes the union very vulnerable while they're trying to negotiate a new contract.
Yeah. Do you think this impacts the pace at which they try and do a deal or get to a lockout by the owners?
It has to impact the process. I don't know what happens as far as the lockout by the owners. For the owners to lock out and declare an impasse like they failed to do last time, I've got to think there are some cooler heads around to remember what happened. But as I wrote in my column about it, I said I would think that they all remember the mutual assured destruction that created in the years 2 or 3 years after the fact. But there isn't a player it's not a player in baseball who's old enough to read when that was going on, and there are no owners. All those militant owners are gone, and so this is another new set of billionaires who aren't used to their employees saying no to them. So we'll see what happens.
Peter Schmuck of the BaltimoreBaseball.com. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon, okay, my friend?
All right, buddy. Good talking to you.
All right, good talking to you, Pete. Bye. We'll take a brief time out here and then be joined by Childs Walker of the Baltimore Banner, BaltimoreBanner.com. We'll be back after these words.
Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, we've spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, we handle all makes and models with elite precision. Our team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications. We make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts. Leading Edge Auto Body. Quality you can see. Service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg chats with Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. about his life now at the age of 65, his role with the Orioles ownership group, and much more. Also inside, Bill Ordine helps us learn more about new Ravens head coach Jesse Minter. Luke Jackson finds out about new Orioles slugger Pete Alonso from those who have played with him, and we meet college lacrosse players from programs all across the area. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a Million free slot play giveaway. Join us every Friday in February for your chance to win a share of $1 million in free play, including a grand prize of $75,000 in free play. You could be one of 25 winners each week. So what are you waiting for? Thanks a Million, only at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Well, it's not Glenn Clark today. It's Stan the Fan with Griffin Bass. We'll be here for the next hour or so. And joining us right now as we flip from orange to purple is Childs Walker of the Baltimore Banner. And BaltimoreBanner.com is where you can read Childs' stuff. Childs, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Stan. How you been?
Good. No, you're not a beat reporter, so to speak, but you're on the beat for the Banner, and you're out at Owings Mills quite a bit. Your impressions of the introduction of the three coordinators, Declan Doyle, Anthony Weaver, and Anthony Levine.
Well, yeah, I was out there with you on Wednesday, Dan. Yeah, I mean, we've heard a good bit from Anthony Weaver and Anthony Levine over the years. I mean, those are characters who are pretty well known around town. So I thought that the person that people were probably most eager to hear from was Declan Doyle. He's in a way, I guess, the riskiest of the series of initial hires that Jesse Minter has made, because of his youth, because of the fact that he's never called plays before. So I think everyone was eager to hear sort of his first messages about what the offense might look like with Lamar Jackson. And I thought he did well. He spoke to me in, a good bit of detail for somebody who's only been on the job for a few weeks. He showed, I thought, a lot of sort of confidence and command that maybe belied his age a little bit. I mean, this is not, some fresh-faced kid who is overwhelmed by what's in front of him. He's been thinking about what this job would be for a long time. He's the son of a coach. He's kind of grown up in this, and I thought he had some really interesting ideas. Now, some of what he said has already become fodder for some national media discussions of, is he sending veiled messages to Lamar Jackson? I didn't really take it that way. I mean, I think he has confidence in himself that, he can bring a vision that can help Lamar Jackson, unlock that kind of that last level and, win, the big games that he hasn't been able to win. And I thought that was refreshing. I mean, you would want a young coach like that to come in and speak confidently. So I thought he did well. I don't know what you thought, Stan.
Before I get into what I thought, I'd just be curious. Yeah. Do you think that Lamar Jackson sees it through the same prism, that he's still got some things to work on, or do you think that that's one-sided by Declan Doyle?
It's an interesting question. I mean, of course, Lamar has always said. I mean, whenever we've talked to him about this over the years, he said, I still need to improve everything. Like, I know that I'm not a finished product. He talked early in his career about kind of that last level being kind of the Tom Brady level where you just have command of everything that's going on the field. And, he's sort of never presented himself as a finished product. He's always said, I'm always striving to get to that. And the bottom line is he's never been past the AFC Championship game. I mean, a player of his caliber is expected to play in Super Bowls and win Super Bowls, and that hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, he certainly understands that he has not reached the goal that he set down for himself when he first got to Baltimore. Whether he would, absolutely agree on a coach's assessment of, every one of his skills, probably not. I mean, he's a proud, independent, stubborn thinker about his own abilities. But, I think it's the job of the coach to come in and sort of reach him and, say these are points where I think, with some specific focus, you could still get a little better in the biggest moments. And that's the job. That's what Declan Doyle's got to do. And, the proof will be in the results. But I mean, I don't see why there would be any problem in having that sort of creative back and forth as part of that relationship. I think that should be there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I agree with what you said. I thought he handled himself very well. But it comes down to to me, it comes down to the difference between a Tom Brady and a Lamar Jackson and I felt this way about Joe Flacco versus Tom Brady, is the work that you put in. With Joe Flacco, to me, it was always, I thought that he liked to work until 5 o'clock and then get home to wife and, at the time, 2 kids or 3 kids when he was with the Ravens. I think he has 5 kids now. But where Tom Brady was probably there till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock watching film and working that extra mile, I don't see that as part of Lamar Jackson's DNA.
Well, I think Tom Brady was obsessed to the ultimate degree, right? I mean, to the point where, he redid everything about his diet and fitness to the point where, he looked better and more athletic at 45 than he probably did at 25. I mean, he was almost unique, I think, in that level of obsession. Lamar Jackson, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think you can say that he doesn't work hard and hasn't gotten better. I mean, I think if you certainly you look at him as a pure passer, I mean, he in no way resembles what we saw, in his first training camp with the Ravens. I mean, he's gotten leaps and bounds better over his time in Baltimore. So,
no question.
I mean, you can't, right. So I mean, I don't question his devotion to it. This is going to be a very interesting summer in that respect, though, because and this is again already come up out of what Declan Doyle said on Wednesday. He was asked very specifically about, is he hoping that everybody will be there for OTAs? And I mean, some people took this again as some sort of like veiled message to Lamar, but I mean, he basically said, I think it's really important that everybody be there. We're trying to put in a whole new offense, and the only way to sort of hit the ground running when we get here for training camp is to do all of that prep work in OTAs in May and June. And so, if Lamar Jackson is not there for all of those sessions, it's going to get a lot of attention. And I have been a person in the past who said, look, I'm not going to dwell that much on OTAs. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. I kind of do think it's a bigger deal this offseason because you have the whole new coaching staff. And I do think it's important to have that buy-in from the most important player because I think it does filter down. I mean, not only is it practically important, but it's symbolically important. So I don't think that that's a non-story. I mean, I think it will be something to watch as we get into the summer.
I agree with you on that. I think it's important that it sends the message to the team that he thinks that this is important enough to show up. He's the highest paid player in the history of the franchise, and I think it's incumbent upon him to be here. And I don't know that I feel that it's better than a 30% chance that he shows, but that's certainly not a heavy-duty analytical interpretation by me. Question about Anthony. Go ahead, Griffin. Griffin had a question.
Well, yeah, I mean, while we're talking about Lamar, I mean, one way to make sure that he is, committed and hanging around this team is to get his contract settled here. And we know how big of a cap hit he has. How concerned should we be to the fact that they haven't gotten anything done? We saw Patrick Mahomes got restructured his deal with Kansas City already this week. How concerned should we be that we haven't really heard a whole lot on the contract front right now?
I don't think you should be overly concerned that we haven't heard a lot yet. I mean, although the clock is ticking. I mean, we're not far away. I mean, we're basically basically 3 weeks from the start of free agency, and that's kind of the key point. They need the financial flexibility going into free agency, and it impacts everything. I mean, it impacts. Obviously they're trying to figure out a way to extend Tyler Linderbaum, and I think there's a feeling that if he gets to the open market, maybe they lose a bidding war. I mean, he's listed as one of the top 2 or 3, free agents available at any position. So, I mean, again, all of these things are affected by the Lamar contract situation. Now, I mean, we know they have an option even if they don't, get an extension. And Steve Bisciotti was very plain about this. He said, look, if we don't reach an extension, we're going to have to do a restructure to push some of this money into void years. We have to do it. We have to have that flexibility. So they do have an option outside of reaching an extension, but the extension is the better option for them. To my mind, it's probably the best option for him too, because I mean, we know how these quarterback contracts work. I mean, the money is going to be what it's going to be. It's going to be a top of the market deal. That's not really any question. So I don't know from his standpoint, what you're holding out for, what you're fighting for. It's hard to know what those last few details might be. I guess the question always with him is, I mean, he's a very independent person. He keeps his own counsel. He doesn't have an agent. His circle is very tight. Does he feel that urgency? Is he, we know the Ravens feel it. We know the fans feel it. I'm sure the coaching staff feels it. Does Lamar feel it? And I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question. And we won't know until something happens. Again, when he signed the last extension, the positive momentum on that didn't really come up until, the last few days and hours before the deal was announced. I mean, he demanded a trade earlier that month. So it's really hard to read the tea leaves with him.
Yeah. Wanted to get your take on Anthony Weaver. I know that the Declan Doyle story was kind of the more fascinating story, but I thought it was a great get by Jesse Minter to want a strong defensive coordinator, even though he's going to call the plays. Your impressions of how Anthony Weaver handled that?
Oh, I agree with you, Stan. I think it's a great thing having Anthony Weaver back in the building. I mean, we know he was a head coaching candidate here and in other cities. I do believe he'll be a head coach somewhere at some point because, I mean, you see him up there talking to us, and I mean, he just has that quality, right? I mean, he has. I mean, there's a real sort of warmth and humanity to him, but he's able to really convey, big picture concepts about what he thinks the defense needs to be, about what he thinks the team needs to be, about what he thinks the franchise needs to be. He has all of those components that are, I think, very important to a head coach, because a head coach is not just about what you put on the field. You're also, throughout the year, you're the number one spokesman for your franchise. And he's a guy who is very capable of doing that. And I thought both what he and Jesse Minter said about kind of the arrangement that they've worked out was really kind of impressive and reassuring. I mean, they seem to have talked very candidly about the fact that, sure, it was disappointing for Anthony Weaver that he didn't get a head coaching job in this cycle, but he's a humble enough person. He has enough perspective to say, I can still come back to Baltimore and do really good work. Not only can I enhance my own standing as a candidate in the future, but maybe I can win a Super Bowl. I can help young players, emerge. I mean, he sees value in those things on their own terms, and he doesn't seem daunted by the fact that Jesse Minter is ultimately going to be the one designing and calling the defense. He's comfortable being the guy to sort of communicate that vision to the players and be a sounding board for them and be the guy in the room who's sort of making sure that they fit into Minter's plan. And I think he's just the perfect guy for that. I don't think you could have found a better person. I mean, he's just, because he does connect with people and he knows how to talk to people, and he already has relationships, within the defense. So I'm with you. I can't imagine a better hire in that position.
How do you think they'll do it with Minter calling the plays? Do you think it's more advantageous on game day that Weaver be upstairs and able to watch things from a different perspective, or do you think he'll be on the sidelines?
I'm not sure, and obviously he can get asked that. I'm sure he will get asked that.
We didn't ask him.
As we get closer to the season. I guess knowing him a little bit over the years, I would think he might want to be a guy who's on the sidelines with closer to the players. Right. Again, sort of being that connector guy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good question, and I mean, it'll be if I had to guess right now, I would guess he would be on the sideline.
And then, I mean, I guess we'll stay on the coach. I mean, what do you make of the coaching staff as a whole? They're all pretty young guys here, and guys outside of Anthony Weaver that are, more or less in their first time in these roles. For Declan Doyle, he's been an offensive coordinator, but his first time as the offensive play caller. What do you make kind of the sum of the four, taking leading this organization?
Well, I guess what I liked was it seemed like Jesse Minter put a lot of thought into how to fill out the staff beyond the coordinators.
Sure.
I guess that impressed me. And he talked about, I asked him about it the other day, and he talked about it. I mean, he really looked at the offense as sort of one puzzle to put together, and then the defense as another puzzle to put together. Because I mean, obviously he's at the top of the defensive pyramid. So, on that side, he's really looking for the people that he has the most confidence in to sort of teach the system that he brings, right? But on the offensive side, I mean, he was really looking for a guy to come in with the plan and almost be on the offensive side what Jesse Minter was on the defensive side in Los Angeles. And I think Declan Doyle even said that, we sort of see each other as, very similar on opposite sides of the ball. But, I thought it was smart the way he sort of rounded out the offensive staff, bringing in guys that have worked with Declan Doyle in the past, and some more experienced people who've called plays and, who've designed a run game. I mean, there's a lot of different elements that I thought were brought together on the offensive staff that, some of them will work better than others. That's inevitable. That's always the way these things go. But it was clear to me that he had just put a lot of thought again into how things blend. And that sort of speaks to that coach's son quality that Jesse Minter brings to things. Right? Obviously, his dad is one of the people. He joked that he was kind of the easiest hire that he made to the staff. His dad is around, but he watched his dad sort of be part of these things, growing up. I mean, these are things he's been thinking about his entire life. And I did think that the way he put the whole thing together showed a whole lot of thought and some real wisdom in sort of balancing out the different qualities of coaches. And I mean, they've gotten rave reviews, I think, basically around the league. The fans seem pretty happy with it. So, I mean, I think right now they would get a good grade on the report card. Now the proof is in the pudding. And, as I said, some of these guys it'll click better than others, and we won't know that. I mean, we won't know that until the end of the season. But I mean, it's so far so good.
The rumors are starting already. The two big players are P.J. Brown, wide receiver with the Eagles. The rumors that the Ravens are one of 4 or 5 teams that make sense for him. And then on the opposite side of the football, the Raiders are expected to move on from Max Crosby because they could get a haul for him. And the Ravens are one of the teams that are listed as a possible landing spot for Crosby. If you had one of those two players, which one are you adding?
If I could just pick one of them, I mean, I would pick Crosby because it just feels a bigger need. Yeah. Which one do I think is more likely? I think it's AJ Brown is probably more likely because I don't think you have to give up nearly as much. Yeah. I mean, Max Crosby, I think you're giving up serious draft capital, and we know. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to change. Coaching staff change or no. I mean, the fundamental reluctance of Eric DaCosta and his staff to give up draft capital. I don't see that changing. So I mean, would they be excited to send out a first round pick or multiple first round picks for Max Crosby? I don't see that. So AJ Brown would certainly be a big addition. I mean, Zay Flowers is the only sort of sure thing, excellent wide receiver that they have going into next year. I mean, will Rashad Bateman even certainly be on the team? I don't think that's 100%.
Yeah.
Whereas AJ Brown could come in and give them that sort of big physical receiver on the outside that you could argue Lamar Jackson has still never really had that guy.
Yeah.
And so that would be, I mean, obviously, a peak DeAndre Hopkins was that kind of player, but, he wasn't going to be used to that level, at the point in the career that he was last year. So there would be some excitement in seeing that.
Hey, 2 more things for you real quick.
Yep.
One football and one baseball. John Harbaugh, have you been keeping an eye on the side a little bit of what he's doing up in New York, and what do you make of the staff he's putting together?
Yeah, sure I have. I guess nothing about what's happened there has surprised me. I mean, he obviously, he didn't get to bring in the exact staff that he wanted because of things that happened in other places.
Right.
Most notably, obviously, Todd Monken gets the head coach job in Cleveland. So I mean, that forced him to adjust a little bit. But I mean, he's basically operating as he always has. I mean, he's filling in, experienced coaches at the top. I mean, that's kind of always been his pattern. I mean, he's gonna refashion that whole building in sort of the style that we saw him refashion the Ravens building over time, and that's what they brought him in to do. So I mean, I guess nothing about it has surprised me. I mean, we know his messaging well. We know his methods well, and that's what the Giants wanted, and probably what they needed, because that's been a franchise adrift for so long. And I mean, he certainly won't allow that. I mean, whatever fans thought about his inability to sort of get the Ravens to play their best in the biggest games in recent years, it's a fair criticism. But I mean, that's not where the Giants are right now. I mean, the Giants are just trying to get in the conversation again, and,
yep.
and he's a very capable coach in that regard, and I don't have any doubt that he'll succeed at least at some level. So yeah, I mean, I think we know the Harbaugh playbook, right? And we're seeing it unfold up there.
My baseball question for you is, and I just had Peter Schmuck on, Yep. And what a day! What two guests back to back? Peter Schmuck and Charles Walker.
One of my guys for many years.
Yeah. But seriously, one of the things about we could ask you to cover the Olympic tiddlywinks next week, and you would write like you'd covered tiddlywinks forever. So I know you wear a lot of hats. This story with Tony Clark, where do you see this going, and how much trouble is he in?
I feel like I can't speak to how much trouble he's in, but I mean, I guess my immediate thought was just that it's bad for the whole bigger conversation about where the labor situation is going, right? And I mean, I think there's already a lot of pessimism on that front, but to remove that piece when we're already fairly close to the edge of the cliff as in next offseason, I mean, it feels grim. I mean, it feels like there are real loggerheads where the owners around that sport and I think a lot of fans around that sport are just fed up with the economic structure. Obviously the Dodgers being the biggest example of just a large market club kind of run amok. So the players, I mean, that's been the strongest union in sports over basically over my entire lifetime and most of your lifetime, Stan. And so I mean, they're not gonna give that up easily. And I don't know, man. I mean, I just it doesn't feel like anybody is optimistic there or has solutions there. And the Tony Clark thing just it added another bizarre element to that, right? And destabilized it even further. So I mean, there's no good there.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first read the article, I was certain that the inappropriate relationship with the sister-in-law was a fiscal relationship, that somehow she was involved with this scheme. That's how I read it, because it said there's also an inappropriate relationship who had just been hired. So I thought it was somehow that she was put in place to facilitate his criminal behavior.
But
nobody else has read it that way. So,
but it seems like in 2026 we can't get away from these scandals just circling the drain in the way that they do, right?
Yeah, it's probably crypto and involves the Trump family somehow. But we'll save that for another day. Hey, Charles, I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, talk to you soon. Keep up the good work with the Banner. Baltimore Banner, Charles Walker. We are going to be back in just a moment. We're going to take a time out. Griffin, you have anything you need to talk about?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out countysports.zone. You can get the latest on scores, schedules, updates, all of the local high school sports around the state of Maryland. Obviously, winter season starting to wind down, so you can look at playoff schedules, playoff brackets, etc., and the spring season right around the corner as well. So go to countysports.zone, powered by the Toyota Tacoma at buyatoyota.com.
Time just keeps ticking on, doesn't it? It just keeps ticking on.
It never stops.
The seasons, they just go one to another.
It's winter. It's winter right now, and before you know it, it's going to be spring.
Yeah. And baseball season.
Yep,
and
baseball
then before you know it, it'll be football season.
Yeah,
and
that's the fall. Are you just skipping the summer?
No, baseball season. I said it'll be
baseball. Well, we said I thought.
Okay, then you go to the summer.
Baseball spring season.
Then you go to the fall.
And you get
the
fall
dog
classic.
Days. Yeah. And the opening of football.
Still baseball.
And then before you know it, it'll be the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like we just had the Super Bowl.
And then it'll be spring training next year.
Jeez. You're just
for a
fast-forwarding
season,
everything.
Will there be
Will anything
season?
good happen in the
Will there be a season next year?
Probably not.
Probably.
Well, maybe.
I think there will be.
I hope you're right.
All right.
If they're smart, I mean, yeah, they.
All right. We're gonna.
Who's gonna win? The players gonna win, or
I don't know.
Who's gonna win? Pick a side. Well, you think there's gonna be a season stand, so who's gonna win?
I think they're gonna come to some type of compromise.
Yeah, what's it gonna be?
I don't.
Solve it, Stan.
I don't know how to do that.
Probably
anymore.
Some high salary floor. I don't think there's gonna be a cap. I think you're gonna get into some
show.
deep luxury tax. I guess is probably the best.
Probably
the best way to continue things.
All right, we're going to pay a couple more bills and be back. Mike Schild, I had a chance to talk to him. He's now the coordinator of upper minor league instruction for the Baltimore Orioles. I had a chance to chat with him yesterday. When we get back, we'll hear a piece of that.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a million.
Experts, Leading Edge Auto Body, quality you can see, service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs in the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning